So I've been studying the best crypto traders in the world for years now, and they all have different strategies, different signals, and different ways to trade. But in all of my research, there is one signal that has stood head and shoulders above the rest. You can literally predict the crypto markets, not just Bitcoin, but altcoins going absolutely nuclear. I'm going to spoil this video for you. It's predicting Bitcoin's going to absolutely take off. It's predicting altcoins are going to take off. And even me making this video makes me way more bullish on the market because I'm like, oh my God, I'm underexposed to what is about to happen because there's a lot of uncertainty out there, whether we're talking about conflict in the Middle East or whether we're talking about this is fair enough. If this makes you scared, Bitcoin is at $105,000. Fantastic. It's had 40 days over $100,000 and really found its resistance up there. So that is all sounding really bullish. However, have a look at this double peak formation. You can see there's a lot of PTSD out there, especially on crypto Twitter. In 2021, Bitcoin peaked at 60 grand, absolutely crashed before peaking even higher at 66 grand and then dropping 80% and going into a very cold, dark couple of years in crypto where nothing was really making money. Now we're rerunning that back. We've had a massive run up past the 100K level, then that dip that we all experienced and didn't love, and now we've run all the way back up to that second peak. Is this going to be an 80% drop off? The answer is no. If you keep watching, I'm going to show you why. But more than that, sure, Bitcoin could run to 150 grand a token. That's a nice 40 to 50% return. Who really cares? We're not here for 40 to 50% return. We're here for altcoin season, because altcoin season, you can get 40x to 50x return. And for the last year, we've been sitting in a really strong Bitcoin dominance. And it's about time that the altcoins started celebrating. So I'm also going to show you in this video how this price signal and liquidity and factors are going to influence and really give us the biggest altcoin season that we've ever had, according to this theory. Before I do, YouTube is giving me lots of warnings on my video, especially when I talk about meme coins. So just in case the worst thing happens and they don't want me here on the channel anymore, pretty please come and follow me on X. I'm Rubicon Benji. I'll link it up in the description below. You can literally click on the link and click that follow button so we can stay in touch before I even finish this sentence. So thank you for joining me here on YouTube. Thank you for joining me over there on X. I'd hate for anything to happen, but just in case, I'd love to stay in touch with you. Now, let's cut the crap and get down to business. Peter from House of Crypto, he's been crushing his calls recently. And he was the guy who introduced me to this insane signal. Now, he wasn't the originator of the signal. It originally comes from a guy called Raoul Pal, but Peter from House of Crypto is out there spreading the word of the Lord. Because a lot of people are trading the news. Have a look at this tweet. Peter from House of Crypto says, on October 1st in 2024, Iran fired 200 ballistic missiles at targets in Israel. But despite that, Bitcoin absolutely soared. It went up 85%. And then altcoins, XRP went up 6x, SUI went up 3x, HBAR went up 9x, ADAR went up 4x. And he's really saying, if you think the news cycle is dictating the price of Bitcoin, you're probably really wrong. I'm going to show you what is dictating the price of Bitcoin, but a lot of the time, people will try to attach narratives in hindsight. Altcoin Gordon says, there won't be a World War III, by the way. In a couple of weeks, it'll all be forgotten. While you're panicking, the bottom is already in. Crypto is about to enter a massive bull market, the biggest bull market we've ever seen. Ignore the noise. But how do you know what's noise? And how do you know what's signal? And you can decide for yourself if you believe this to be true. The OG Brett says, Bitcoin M2 pulling back to the 50-day moving average in the gray line down here. Low volume day with traditional finance markets closed. Steady lads, it looks like a pump is coming soon. You can see the price of Bitcoin here in the blue directly reflecting this yellow line. This is the signal that I'm talking about. What is this yellow line? Well, it is the M2 money supply, the global M2, which is every government issued currency in the world turning on their printing presses, making more money, and this is the total of that money and where it's projected to go. This graph here is from a man called Colin Talks Crypto, who is all over this on X and puts, honestly, the cleanest correlations and graphs out about the M2 money supply and Bitcoin. And you can see it's an absolute insane correlation. In fact, he's got the exact percentage that these two factors correlate. Over 2 years, this correlates at an 86%. Over 1.5 years, it correlates at 93%. Over 1 year, it correlates at 89%. Even at 90 days, it's still correlating at a 90% correlation. So if you're trying to predict the price of Bitcoin, and this also reflects in gold and real estate and even the stock market, because if you don't understand what the M2 money supply is, like I said, it's when governments are printing money. That money, which is essentially worthless because they can print it out of thin air, will find harder assets, which is assets that are harder to create more of, such as gold, real estate, Bitcoin, impossible to create more of, and the value will be absorbed by them like a sponge. And Bitcoin is the best performing asset in history and will continue to be as long as governments continue to print money. Lastly, why is it offset by 83 days? And why can we see into the future and see what the M2 money supply is going to be? Excellent question. Well, it's offset by 83 days because of something called the Cantillon effect, which is, say the US government print $1 trillion. Where do they put it? They have to get into the economy somehow. And they normally give it to themselves, or they give it to big banks or massive corporations. And they get to spend this money before anyone else, which means the money is more valuable because it's not yet circulating in the economy and hasn't yet been diluted. Then it works its way down the hierarchy of life into people's hands like me and you. And it takes about 83 days for that Cantillon effect to play out and the money to be given into the hands of retail and normies who are then going to be investing it in harder assets in order to save its value. Which means we can see 83 days into the future and therefore predict the price of assets like Bitcoin. Now you can see the yellow line, and this is what made me crazy bullish, actually extends all the way up to that $200,000 per coin level by September. Like, this is quick, guys. This is the next 3 months that it's predicted to follow at a 90% correlation. Doesn't mean 100% this is going to happen. No. I mean, the correlation is not even 100%. So don't be silly. And remember, massive catastrophic things in the world could temporarily delay this effect, but it's an asymmetric bet based on history. You may also notice, because everyone's going to plot this differently, on Colin's graph, it actually has diverged already. Although it has followed the same sort of shape, it seems to be just a bit lower than it's predicted. We should actually be at about 115,000 Bitcoin, and we're at 104,000. Well, Colin says this is making up for it being outperformed by Bitcoin back in February of this year, as literally this lack of correlation here is canceling out this lack of correlation here before we resume a stronger correlation. In fact, based on this and the pattern that Bitcoin's making, Colin is insanely bullish. Bitcoin, inverse head and shoulders, right shoulder still forming, measured target $150,000 per Bitcoin. And guys, guess what happened when Bitcoin rallies past its all-time high, back into new territory, into the 120s, into 130s, into the 150s, or even close to that $200,000, retail money is going to come flooding back. We're going to go mainstream. Everyone in the world is going to be talking about it because we're in territory, price discovery territory that we've never seen before. And I'm going to show you there's a new on-ramp, which is going to literally onboard trillions of dollars that will eventually flow into altcoins. Ilya Trade says, right now we're looking at a truly asymmetric moment in crypto history. He met up with some of his friends and they were 100% burnt out, not even trading crypto or following the crypto narratives on the timeline. His YouTube subs, or the velocity, which is the attention and the people actually signing up day to day for his YouTube channel, are at 2019 levels. If you don't know what 2019 levels is, that was the heart of the bear market, of the absolutely flat and declining price of Bitcoin. Socially, we're in the depths of a bear market in many ways, and yet Bitcoin's over 100K. Stablecoins just got legalized. I'll tell you about that in a sec. DeFi is next, is Ilya's prediction, and institutions are FOMOing into tokens, specifically ETH-based tokens. Do not give up. Be retarded just a little longer. The next few years are going to be a free infinite money glitch. Now, if you didn't see this, this is actually massive news that sort of went unspoken. The Genius Act just passed the Senate. This allows institutions to mint and transact digital dollars legally. So governments, big banks and corporations, things like USDC, Circles, who own that, can literally and legally in the US now take in $100 million from clients, whether that be cash or digital dollars just in the bank. And if they're holding that and they're custodying that, they can mint onto the blockchain $100 million worth of liquidity, which is a massive new on-ramp that is going to literally bring in trillions of dollars. And where's it going to flow? Obviously Bitcoin and anything that's not Bitcoin, altcoins. Fred Ursum, who is the co-founder of a few things, but specifically Coinbase, says stablecoins working at scale significantly accelerates crypto as the future of the financial system. All financial services will need to be rebuilt for this ecosystem. This is a once in a generation platform shift. Let these words sink in. Read this tweet again if you need. The major pillars of the future of finance are up for grabs. There's trillions of dollars, guys, up for grabs if you can either build or invest. For retail is here. Obviously, you have to do it smart. A lot of things in crypto will go to zero, but if you know where to look, if you know who to follow, you can absolutely print generational wealth. Because it's not just going to flow to Bitcoin. We're going into altcoin season and a super cycle is due. Madpunk says, everything is perfectly aligned and planned. Get ready for the biggest altcoin season, which is being perfectly timed for where we currently are in the cycle. And if you can position yourself, not just in Bitcoin, but down the risk curve, be careful down the risk curve, because when the market is colder, it's a lot harder to make money. It's way riskier. But as liquidity flows in, as the M2 money supply continues to soar, as retail investors arrive, they're not going to be looking at 10%, 20% gains in Bitcoin. They're going down the risk curve themselves, where you can be waiting with your lovely portfolio and hit those 10, 20, 30, 40 X's. If you need help in seeing what the biggest brains in the world are currently holding their portfolios, or if you want an alert when they buy into a new rising project that could do really well out of the gate, and historically has done extremely well out of the gate, because most people are stuck watching YouTube, they're stuck on their X timelines, and they're going to be exit liquidity. But if you want to move up that narrative cycle and track the wallets and the portfolios of the best traders in the world, come and join us now in a circle. Just this week, we picked up Crypto God John buys, we picked up Alex Becker partnerships before they hit the mainstream. So if you want that upgraded news delivered directly to your phone with a push notification when you get an alert where something new happens, join us in the inner circle. We'd love to see you in there. Enjoy the super cycle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.